Yeah, someone today was intercepted by police waving around a bow and arrow outside Parliament House during an anti-vax rally. Apparently he was screaming for Dan Andrews to come out and face the people, and obviously the bow and arrow was meant to entice him out to face the people. So cops intercepted him, and the people at the rally, the anti-vaxxers, as you can hear in the background right now, were applauding him and saying stuff like this.
You pushed him to the brink! Wonder why? This is nothing to what's going to be coming!
What's going to happen when the bill passes? There'll be more of this.
Andrews needs to get out on the streets now and listen to the people!
Yeah, come on out, we're peaceful, like real Rukshan always says. Don't mind the bow and arrow, we're fine. Look, so I've heard online that it could be a crossbow or a compound bow or this. I don't know what it fucking is. What do I look like? Norman Reedus? And it seems to me that the police, didn't have their guns out when they approached him because he didn't have the bow and arrow up in the air. Now, the response to this from the anti-vaxxers so far, it's early days. This was only today, after all. I think sometime around midday. Falls into two camps. We've got the mental health camp who say, basically, look, he's a good guy. He's just a bit unwell. And then we've got the other camp, which is the false flag camp. Yeah, leave him alone. What's he done? Don't. Give him his bow back.
I know what you've tried to do, but this isn't the way to do it.
How much people have died that I know?
I know. Trust me, I know. I'm with this in you. I know. Trust me, I know. Trust me, I know. I know. But this isn't the way. Please, this isn't the way. This isn't the way.
I'm trying to help everyone.
I know, but now, you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble from this.
I don't care. My life's not worth it.
What's your name? Can I please know your name?
Yeah, so, obviously, I've described two camps. There really is only one camp, is that the guy's unwell. It's just, I think we need to have a quick discussion at the end about, what are the contributing factors. So in camp mental health, we have posts like this. There was an incident today in front of Parliament House where a man with no apparent affiliation to the freedom movement, rubbish, obviously, you've come along to an anti-vax rally and you've, demanded that Dan Andrews come out with a bow and arrow. You've said that you have done it because he said that he's done it to that other anti-vaxxer who was filming because of, he knows people who've died from vaccines, apparently. It's a rather decentralised movement anyway, so of course he's as much a part of it as you can be. So experienced an unexpected mental health episode. I assume he expected it when he bought the bow and arrow, or at least when he brought it to Parliament House. This was an isolated incident. Let's go back to that. Reflective of the immense pressure and general distress Victorians are currently facing. Certainly can't disagree with that. And the man was obviously feeling some kind of pressure. We cannot deny that. Let's go on to the false flag camp. Here we go. Victoria, a guy with a crossbow has taken to the city near Parliament. Got to be honest, this stinks of a USA-style false flag. The cops weren't scared, didn't even draw their guns. Doesn't make any sense. Question everything. And look, I'm inclined to do what the Rise Melbourne Twitter account says and to question everything. And my first question would be, does anyone else, apart from Dan Andrews and the misery of the shadow pandemic and the mental health, have any culpability at all in leading someone to do something like this? But hey, that's just me. I'm a cynic, I'm a cynic, and I'm not as invested as I should be. I've learned this from the anti-lockdown people in the mental health of the shadow pandemic, of the real tragedy of the lockdowns. As that first account said, the mental health one that I shared earlier, isolated incident, not reflective of the freedom movement at all in any way, nothing to do with any of them. Except, perhaps, for this conversation in one of the Australian freedom groups just earlier this year, where someone asked the question, how can we defend ourselves from the police? And the answer is a video of someone firing a crossbow. And then that same person tells everyone that the crossbow bolts that they have go through Kevlar and armour plate vests. And then that person says it takes a high velocity armour piercing bullet 7.62 NATO round to penetrate body armour, but an arrow with the right head on it at 40 pounds will penetrate straight through. This person in one of the Aussie anti-lockdown movement Telegram groups earlier this year just straight up sharing a link to where you can buy a crossbow. And this person in an Aussie anti-lockdown group in the last couple of months saying, stand there with a crossbow. This is imagining a scenario where the police are coming up to force a jab on you and say, you can jab me if I can jab you first. Oh look, what have we got here? Last couple of months, got another person sharing links to where you can buy crossbows. Oh, cool. My daughter's been stocking up on bolts and arrows as she moved to secondary means of protection for when stealth is needed. Oh, hey. Let's stop with the very crossbow-specific stuff and just look at this. Shared by Reignite Democracy Australia. It's Monica Smith's group, one of the biggest anti-lockdown influencers. And it's just average anti-lockdown movement rhetoric, isn't it? It's time to decide, where is your line? What is your breaking point? What are you willing to die for? Decide today. It will set you free. You will be fearless. You will be unstoppable. Monica Smith. Maybe he read that and decided that this is what he might have a go at today. And those weren't hard to find. You can go and find most of them right now. Most of them are from public groups. Just go into Telegram, and type bow and arrow or crossbow and see what you come up with. I mean, they're all going to go and delete them now, surely, but I've taken screenshots, so don't worry about that. This is just the culture of these decentralised groups. They whip each other up into absolute hysteria. And then someone goes and does something, and then they all go, oh, it's a false flag, the government did it. No, cunts. You did it. Your culture, your decentralised Telegram culture and way that you whip each other up and the way that you let opportunistic grifters, whip you up even more for their own ends. That's a culture that you've presided over for, almost 2 years now. I've watched it every step of the way. And I've watched you all avoid responsibility for all of it, all along the way as well. So because they don't have any real sort of, coordinated goals or principles or even sense of responsibility, they farm it out to people like me, I guess, to keep the time for them, to show them. Because I honestly think a lot of them do believe that it's a false flag. And I've got to show them. I've got to go, well, look, you've been talking about fucking crossbows for months. It's a trend. It's a theme. I only picked ones recently from Aussie groups. And it'll only get worse. And I know you think that's all Dan Andrews' fault. It's actually yours as well. Because yous are the ones creating the groups where people trade these ideas and constantly one-up each other and goad each other into more and more extreme acts. Because I agree with those people at the start who were yelling, the anti-vaxxers. Yeah, I think more stuff is going to happen as well. But I think they're the ones encouraging each other to get there.